To Illinois. Can we talk about a Big Ten team that looked great? I don't feel like we've really done that yet. Let's talk about Illinois. Man, they just beat the number one team in the country to start the season. How about that? That's exciting stuff. I'm going to try and find a box score on this quickly just because I don't have it in front of me. But to me, this game started with Terrence Shannon being phenomenal and Coleman Hawkins being a really good compliment to him. Everybody else, there were things that we liked out of this. Ty Rodgers looked better than we thought. Quincy Guerrier got the start and looked like that's the right move. Marcus Damask had like one of the most quiet, super productive performances anybody had this first weekend. The rotation was fascinating. We'll get to that later in the segment, but starting point for me, Shannon and Hawkins were really, really good. Do you agree that that's the starting point?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've been carrying the flag, carrying the water for Terrence Shannon Jr., All-American, honestly, first-team All-American level player this year, and I truly believe that he can do that. He's so special going downhill, and everyone knows that he's going left, and he still is going to get to that left hand, and he's going to go downhill, and he's extremely strong, and he finishes so well. And when he's able to knock down that three as well, he's honestly an unguardable player for most college basketball players. So it was good to see that. And then, of course, honestly brought a little bit of a thug tear to my eye watching Coleman play, man, because all he had to do, and I talked about it all offseason, was just take better shots. Like for me, it was everyone pointed to Coleman's percentages. Coleman's percentages to me were a reflection of the fact that he was shooting shots that he shouldn't shoot, or he was not shooting shots that he should shoot. And it just threw things off, and it threw off his rhythm. I thought he was decisive yesterday. I thought he was shooting open threes when he had it. The shot looks good. He was doing things, making passes, initiating offense at some points from the top of the key when Hunter was guarding him. And he made some really big plays for this team. So if you're going to get that level from Terrence Shannon Jr. and Coleman Hawkins this year, I really like Illinois' chances of being a good team because I believe that the other guys on this team can fill in roles. Like I think Damask can fill in roles. I think Harmon can fill in roles. I think Guerrier Goody can fill in roles on this team. So I thought it was very impressive. Also, especially in the first half, I thought the offense just looked amazing. The extra passing, the making the right play, the finishing, knowing what to do at what time, everything just looked to be flowing very, very well. And it looked like a group of guys who liked playing with each other and were moving the ball and doing everything well. Before you get going on your point, though, I'm going to put my one little pin in this because all of this I said that Illinois could be a good team in the offseason. But the thing is, this is kind of what Illinois does. It looks great right now. It is great right now. It is great when you're beating Kansas. It's great when you're beating the number one team. It's can you keep it together when the times are a little bit tougher, when adversity strikes or something happens? Can that same energy be brought to those games? That's still TBD at this point. But just looking at this game, I thought it was a great game for Illinois. I truly was. It was impressive that they got this win too.
Yeah, I don't want to punish this Illinois team for previous Illinois teams' issues. I'm going to try and be really objective about that anytime we talk about this team. With that said, you're absolutely right. Being great in October and November has never been a Brad Underwood Illinois team's problem. It just hasn't. The problem has been guys start to get unhappy around the December mark, and then everything implodes from within. We've seen it pretty much year after year the past couple. Obviously, that didn't happen when Kofi and Io were here because Kofi and Io were transcendent talents. This year's team, I think, has a lot of reasons you should believe that won't happen. And it starts with the incomers that they got. I think I downplayed them a lot all offseason. I just said they're worse basketball players, even if they're better people than the guys who departed the program. I still think that's true. I think in a lot of ways, the guys they added are not as talented as the guys that left. With that said, I definitely underestimated how much it matters to have guys who are like 22 years old, who are perfectly fine being the fifth option on a good team. And that's to me what Damask and Guerrier and Justin Harmon are. They don't care.
And reasonably caffeinated.
and reasonably, not over caffeinated, right? Like but these three guys for real, when they're on the floor, like they're perfectly fine with Terrence Shannon and Coleman Hawkins going and doing everything. And when they get a kick out, they're going to make the right play. I think I underestimated how much that will help this team because I was really impressed with what I saw from Guerrier and Damask and Justin Harmon in this game. To me, it really is. It's going to come down to how good Shannon and Hawkins are. And I don't mean to downplay because I think they were phenomenal in this game. And when they're at their best, I don't think there's really many, if any, duos in the country that are as good as them when they're playing this good. Like, to me, that's one of the top 3 duo combinations in college basketball. With that said, they shot 9 for 18 from 3 last night. That is not going to happen much, let alone like often. It's probably not going to happen much. And I do think a big part of Illinois' success in this game can just be attributed to like Shannon and Hawkins were hitting shots. And on nights that those guys hit shots, they're going to be really, really good. I just don't think those guys are going to shoot a combined 9 for 18 very often. Here's the big elephant in the room is this. Brad coached this game like it was a national championship game. I'm not saying he shouldn't have done that. I'm not saying it was a wrong move or anything. In fact, I think it was really important for them to get this win if they could get this win, and they did. Hunter Dickinson's 0-5 against them. Everybody feels great. The season started off on the right note. That's awesome. There's a huge elephant in the room that guys just didn't play in this game, though. And it's, again, his issue his whole career has been keeping guys happy. How does Sincere Harris feel about playing 8 minutes in this game? How does Dre Gibbs Lawhorn and Dre Gibbs Lawhorn's mother feel about him playing 3 minutes in this game? How does Amani Hansberry feel about playing 2 minutes in this game? How does Dane Danger feel about playing 9 minutes in this game? How does Luke Goody feel about coming off the bench behind Quincy Guerrier playing 10 minutes in this game? I mean, those are 5 guys that wholeheartedly believe they should be in the rotation that essentially aren't in a charity exhibition. I'm baffled that he played such a small rotation so many minutes. It worked. They got the win. The record is still 0-0 after getting this win. And to do my whole body language PhD thing, I think you already see some frustrations from certain guys. I think you could see that through the screen. And like I've said, I don't want to punish them for previous years, but Brad's whole issue has been managing personalities. And we're one night into the season, and he's essentially told 5 very key parts of this team, hey, you're not going to play much. As there's going to be guys that are mad by not even December, by like November 15th. If this continues, there's going to be guys who are loudly frustrated with this. Do you see that coming?
I do, but to me, one, I don't think that's going to be consistent, at least for some of the guys on the team. And to me, if I had to pick guys that I think actually would be okay with this, just at this point, it would be like guys like Goody and honestly, even like Sincere Harris to me, even though someone pointed out that Sincere Harris looked a little bit dejected or upset on the bench. I didn't see that, but
he was one that was on my list. There were 2 that I think I noticed with, and Sincere was one of them.
Well, there was one I for sure noticed, but I didn't know if Sincere was another one. But I don't know. It's impossible to keep every single person happy on a basketball team. This is the downfall that we talked about. This is the issues that arise when you do have 12 guys, let's say, I don't know what the exact number would be with this Illinois team, that deserve minutes on this team. I don't want to put words into Coach Underwood's mouth or anything like that, but you want to kind of pitch the dream that we're going to be a really good basketball team. We got 12 guys who can play. Minutes might fluctuate for some guys on the team. It's basically going to be Terrence Shannon Jr. and Coleman are going to be, those guys are there. Those are the 2 mainstays. Those are major minute guys. That's what's going to happen. But you know what? Some games, maybe Coleman's not playing well. Minutes get cut a little bit. Another guy needs to come in and step up. And in this case, I thought that Brad did a good job of putting the players around those 2 guys that were doing the right things and making the right plays in this game. Like he put the guys who were playing well and making the right plays out there with the 2 mainstays that they had, and they were able to get the win. So, you can't play everybody. Obviously, guys have different personalities. There's only so much that you can do with that. And if they don't want to buy in and be a part of something, then it is what, it is what it is. The only reason that it comes to the forefront so much with these Illinois teams is because there's no reward on the other end of it. It's more so guys are upset and success isn't happening. If you're having success and guys are upset with their role or upset with, their how they're being portrayed or whatever you want to call it, then that's on them for not wanting to be a part of the success. So if it leads to winning and success, then you can't really, push back on making some guys unhappy because you can't make everybody happy.
Yeah, I think Brad said it after the game, like, you coach to win the game. That's true for games that count. I don't know if you have to coach to win the game in a charity exhibition. Now, he did.
And you know this more than anybody. All right. Anytime that the Illini take in between the lines at State Farm Center, Brad Underwood's job is on the line in the eyes of the fan base. He's got to win.
Listen, you're right. I to be clear, I'm not saying he did anything wrong in this game. I think it was good that he coached to win the game. And more importantly, I give him a lot of credit for pulling the right names in this. It would be different if I think he had the wrong guys in big roles. Guerrier, obviously last night he did, but I'm kind of convinced Guerrier is better than Luke Goody. No offense to Luke Goody, but people keep telling me Luke Goody's like a knockdown shooter. He was 0 for 2 from 3 in this game and did nothing else other than miss his 2 threes. Like, Guerrier was rebounding. He got to the line a ton. He only attempted 1 3, but he hit it. Guerrier is like 24 or however old he is. He's played a bunch of college basketball. If you're going to play a shooter, like a big wing shooter, I think Guerrier is a better player than Luke Goody. So I give Brad Underwood credit for that. Damask, again, super quiet, very productive night in 29 minutes. Like, I think he's pulling the right strings right now. I just also know, like, for a fact, Gibbs Lawhorn is pissed right now. And he's the type of guy who will be pissed even if Illinois is winning, if he's not playing. Now, the bigger question to me is, like, will Goody and Dane and Sincere be okay with this? I mean, Dane playing 9 minutes is crazy, man. I know that hurts your soul.
Oh yeah, especially in this game too. In this game specifically.
Yeah.
Like with Hunter Dickinson out there, I just felt like Dane could have played.
Dane probably was the biggest loser of the night, man. 9 minutes and an elbow to the throat. Like,
yeah.
Tough. All in all, stock up for Illinois for sure. It's just going to be difficult for him to manage the personalities, but we'll figure it out. We've been through this before, and Illinois looks really good. They should definitely be a factor in the Big Ten conversation, maybe in a bigger way than we said. Maybe it's not just Michigan State and Purdue. Maybe it's Michigan State and Purdue and Illinois. Can we quickly do the Hunter side of this? Hunter Dickinson back in the State Farm Center, 0-5 in his career against Illinois. That's how it will end unless these teams play in the NCAA tournament. This game was vintage Hunter, by the way. Like, let me just do the cathartic ex-boyfriend thing with Hunter real quick. He played 34 minutes. He scored 22 points. He had 9 rebounds. He had 0 assists. He was 1 for 3 from 3. He was 9 for 20 from the floor. I've seen this Hunter Dickinson game 65 times in Hunter Dickinson's career. It's always the same. He's super productive individually. It's a close game. And then it gets to crunch time, and the entire offense gets stuck in the mud because everyone's just trying to get him the ball, and it slows down. It's ugly. And down the stretch, every time he gets the ball, every possession, he goes like 2 for 4 on contested hook shots. And you're not winning the game if you go 50% on hook shots down the stretch in a close game. If you're down 3, like, that's not what you need. So I think Kansas is going to have issues, man. I think the build around him has all of the issues that hurt Michigan in the past, other than, like, I think they have better defenders than Jed Howard, but they have less shooting than Michigan had last year. And Hunter complained about shooting all season publicly. Like, this team has less shooting around him. Nick Timberlake looked awful. McCullough was the only guy who hit threes. They only attempted 12 3-pointers in this game. I think Hunter's the best shooter on this roster. And that's horrifying. Like, you can't play him and KJ Adams with a point guard who also won't shoot the ball. And I don't think this is changing. I thought Hunter had, again, a lot of the body language stuff. Like, Kansas players are looking around like, oh, shit, this guy is a dirty player. This guy throws cheap shots. Like, we're going to have to deal with this shit all game long. Like, he's chippy in games that they're losing. That's been the Hunter Dickinson story his whole career. And he hit the podium after the game. They asked him the question pointed, like, I think it was Jeremy Werner from 247 who asked him. What's your relationship like with Illinois fans these days? And it literally took Hunter 45 seconds to process the question and make sure he didn't answer it. Like you could tell he had the most absurd thing ready to say, "Oh, I hate those people, screw them." And instead he just like realized Bill Self would murder him if he said it. And I guess credit to him for not doing it. He said, "I can't give you a good answer right now." But this is going to be a thing, man. Bill Self and the entire Kansas roster are going to have to figure out how to navigate the Hunter Dickinson experience. And my takeaway is there's no way this team's the top 5 team in the country. You can't be that if you're centered around Hunter.
Hey, shout out to the Kansas football team. Shout out to Jason Bean with the big dub at home against Oklahoma. But let's shift to Kansas basketball right now. And Kansas basketball fans, if any of them stumble upon this, and I feel like they might, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Okay. This is what it is. This is the Hunter Dickinson show. For better, for worse, this is what it is. And over the past couple of years, it's ended up being for worse. So I don't think they've ever had to deal with somebody like this. And this is not even like because I like Hunter. I'm not attacking Hunter. I think Hunter's a good person. It's just like, as far as when you're playing basketball, the dude and the teams he plays on, things just don't go well.
The issues are real, like the spacing stuff, and it's not all his fault, but he chose to go to this roster. He saw what the roster was, and he chose to go there. And
you saw that KJ Adams was there for.
And again, for a guy who has loudly complained about his teammates for 2 years, to choose a roster that can't shoot, it's just a fascinating development. And yeah, I mean, there was a concerted effort from everyone, from Bill Self, from everyone on the floor from Kansas. The concerted effort was, that's our best player, get him the ball. Again, I think I've seen this from experience. That won't work. Like Hunter Dickinson's not going to do that on a championship team. In an ideal world, Hunter's your 2. If you have somebody else who's the alpha, I mean, back his freshman year, Michigan was nasty. They were the 3rd best team in the country in the year where Gonzaga and Baylor were awesome. And Hunter was arguably the most talented player, but he was like the 2nd, 3rd option most nights. Like that works. When he's your everything, when he's the sun and everything else evolves around it, it's going to be extremely clunky. And Kansas needs to figure that out. It's going to be a really big test for the best coach in the country, Bill Self. All right.
Wait, hold on. Last thing. Hunter should have just came to state.
Okay.
He should have. It could have been Tyson and Hunter.
Would have been really entertaining stuff.